Okay. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Tonight's the birthday of the Rabbi Hashab. Rabbi Hashab is famous for revealing godliness in the world. And it all started when he was 4 or 5 years old. And he visited his grandfather on his birthday. And his grandfather saw he was crying. Tzemach Tzedek saw that he was crying. And he asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he told his grandfather that just learned in the Torah that Avram saw Hashem. So he said to his grandfather, Tzemach Tzedek, he cried to him, "Why is it that Hashem appears to Avram, he doesn't appear to me?" So Tzemach Tzedek responded to him and said to him, when a Jew is 99 years old, makes a decision to have a circumcision, he deserves that Hashem should appear to him. That's what Tzemach Tzedek told him. So the Rabbi Hashab, he devoted his whole life to fulfill that dream, that heartfelt cry that he had at 4 or 5 years old, to reveal godliness in the world. That Hashem should be revealed. And through chassidus illuminates everything. And as we're going to learn tonight, chassidus illuminates through the lens of torah the meaning of marriage and courtship. And let's get right into it. So Yankel and Shmerel go to this marriage seminar, and the man running the seminar asks Yankel, "So what's your wife's favorite flower?" It's very important that a husband knows a lot about his wife, right? "What's your wife's favorite flower?" So he bends over and he says, "It's self-rising, isn't it?" And the rest of the story is a little ugly, so I won't say the rest of the story. So this week we read about the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka. And the Torah here actually describes the first time and the only time of love after marriage. Yitzchak and Rivka, the first time Torah talks about the love of a husband, of a man and woman, is in this week's parsha. The Torah says Yitzchak marries Rivka. He brings Rivka into his tent, and he marries her, and he loves her. So the word the Torah uses for love, and he loved her, it's unique. It's not a word we find anywhere else in the Torah, that there's love after marriage. We find another time the Torah talks about Adam and Eve getting married. It says Adam and Eve get married, and God says a man should leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they become one flesh. But it doesn't say the word love. Love is much more than just becoming one and cleaving to each other. Love means that there's an emotional connection. There's a deeper connection. So how come we don't find love mentioned by Adam and Eve? We only find love mentioned by Yitzchak and Rivka, not by anyone else. Certainly there was love by Avram and Sarah. Avraham didn't want to marry Hagar. He only married Hagar because Sarah encouraged him and forced him. You have to marry Hagar because in that way I'll be blessed with a child. Sarah sacrificed herself for Avram many times. She said that I'm his sister, right? She told the Egyptian king and the Abimelech. She said that Avram is my brother, and she thus endangered herself, and for the sake to keep Avram alive. So she sacrificed herself for Avram. Avram sent Yishmael out of the house because Sarah asked him. So Avram and Sarah gave to each other and sacrificed for each other, and certainly they loved each other. But we don't find the Torah describing love between them. We only find love talked about in this week's parsha between Yitzchak and Rivka. Can you see what that says? It says, she became his wife and he loved her. So what was unique about Yitzchak and Rivka's marriage? How come this is the only time the Torah uses this expression? The only time in the whole Torah. It does say about Yaakov and Rachel, that Yaakov loved Rachel.
It's before the marriage.
But this is before they got married, right? It says that Yaakov loved Rachel before they got married. But this is the only time the Torah talks about love after marriage. So the question is, what's the difference between the love of Yaakov and Rachel before marriage and the love of Yitzchak and Rivka after marriage? We're going to go into a lot of discussion to figure out this, answer this question, but I want to share with you a story first, which I think brings out the essence of the idea, so we shouldn't get lost in all different places we're going to go. It's an incredible story. You read this book. It happened to me. I love it when it happens by Schwartzy. Incredible book. Schwartzy was once in Eretz Yisrael. Shama Schwartz was once in Eretz Yisrael, and he wanted to visit the kever of Yishai, the father of David HaMelech. And he asks the host where he's staying at, I went to visit the kever of Yishai, is there a shorter way? So his host says, actually there's stairs right next to where we live, but those stairs go up to this to the kever, but on the way to the kever, the Arabs put up this wall and you can't pass by the wall. So Schwartzy's like, what do you mean, just take the wall down? You're telling me to take the wall down, but the municipality, there's politics, there's bureaucracy, there's no way to take the wall. We can't just take the wall down. We were trying for so many years to get this wall down. Well, no, we can't take the wall down. So Schwartzy's like, I'll take care of this. And he comes back many hours later, he's full of soot and cement, and he's smiling from ear to ear. We got the wall down. They call those stairs up to the cave, they call them the stairs of despair, because you walk up these long stairs and then there's this wall there. You can't go. The Arabs put up this wall, and it's apparently it became legal once you put it up, so you can't take it down. But Schwartzy says that we just took it down, and the host is like, "That's very funny. That's not true. Let's see." And they walk up the stairs, and sure enough, the wall is down. He says, "How'd you do it?" Well, I asked Mati. Mati? Yeah, Mati is a soldier. I asked Mati to take it down. So Mati just took it down. You asked him to take it down. Well, Mati had to call Dudu, and Dudu called Shmerel, and then we got someone else to come with it. And Shmerel says to bring this big hammer, and we took it down. And this guy, his mind is blown. And here is the mayor and the city council, and they're all involved in this story for years, and they can't get the wall down. And so he goes over to Mati, and he asks Mati, "What happened? How'd you guys take the wall down?" Well, he's a very nice guy. I'm also a nice guy. What do you mean he's a nice guy? So what happened was that he discovered that Schwartzy was buying lunch for these soldiers every day since he had arrived in Israel, and he became very close to them. He knew everyone's name, where they were from, and he said to Schwartzy, "Wow, you're buying them lunch every day?" Schwartzy modestly and humbly said, "You see what $50 American can do in Israel? Shawarma, ice cream, soda, it's incredible." What did he do? What happened over there? It was something that he did for them consistently to show that he really cared about them, and it created something. Okay, hold on to that thought. We'll get back to that. So, what was the difference again between the love of Yaakov and Rachel before they got married, and Yitzchak and Rivka after they got married? How come the Torah only describes this as a love between a husband and wife? Why not between Yaakov and Rachel? The other interesting thing is that there were certainly differences of opinion between Yitzchak and Rivka. Just like there were differences of opinion between Avraham and Sarah about Yishmael. It says that Avraham loved Yishmael. So too it says in the Torah about Yitzchak and Rivka. Yitzchak loved Esav, and Rivka loved Yaakov. And yet they never fought at all. There was never any fights between them. Unlike Avraham and Sarah, we do find fights. We find that Sarah got angry at Avraham. Sarah said to... when Hagar became pregnant, Sarah, the Torah says, got angry. We also find that Rachel got angry at Yaakov when she was unsuccessful after many years to become pregnant. She gets angry at Yaakov and she says, "Give me a child." But we don't find any discord between Yitzchak and Rivka. And there's certainly something unique about their relationship. And the question is, what is unique about their relationship? What is it about them that brings them together in such a way that there's no discord between them? We'll understand this by first analyzing what the Gemara says. The Gemara says that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov each instituted one of the three prayers that we recite daily. Avraham instituted Shacharis, Yitzchak instituted Mincha, and Yaakov instituted the evening prayer. As the Torah says, Avraham woke up in the morning, so Talmud says that why did he wake up in the morning? He woke up in the morning to daven Shacharis. Yitzchak, he says he went out in the field. Why did he go out in the field? He went to daven Mincha. And Yaakov, it says, you saw the sun set. By Yifka b'mokim, the Gemara interprets Yifka b'mokim that he went to daven Ma'ariv. But it's not just that they instituted prayer 3 different times a day. Each of these prayers are unique, and they have a connection to each of those 3 patriarchs. If you take the second letter of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, you find an allusion to their prayers. You take the second letter of Avram, Bais stands for Boker, for the morning. So you take the second letter of Yitzchak, Tzadik, stands for Tzaharim, the afternoon, the Mincha prayer. And take the second letter of Yaakov, Ayin, it stands for Arvis, the evening prayer. So there's something about each of these patriarchs and the prayer that they made is a different kind of prayer. So the question is, what is unique about these prayers and how they connect to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? And why do we have 3 prayers anyways? Why don't we have 4 prayers or 5 prayers or 1 prayer? I mean, what's the idea of having 3 prayers? Why 3 of all prayers? And they're clearly different kinds of prayers. Well, what does this mean? So the answer is like this. We'll have to understand a little bit more about these 3 times of the day, and then we'll see how they're related to these 3 different patriarchs. What's unique about the morning? Morning is fresh, it's exhilarating. You wake up in the morning before your children wake up, before you go to the office and you discover that there's a whole mess there and life is terrible. But before you do that, you wake up in the morning and it's morning, and the sun is shining, and when the sun starts shining, I know some people are have more imagination than others. When the sun starts shining in the morning, all of a sudden your mind starts working and you start to dream and start thinking about, you have new energy. That's why it's, by the way, you're supposed to wash your hands in the morning. Why are you supposed to wash your hands in the morning? The Alter Rebbe writes in Shulchan Aruch, a Kohen has to wash his hands before serving in the temple. You wake up in the morning, you're a new creation by God. You have to now begin serving God all over again. Therefore, you wash your hands. And you're just like the Kohen would wash on the kiyar in the temple, he'd wash his hands. So too, you woke up in the morning, you have to wash your hands. You're going to start serving God. So you're not going to serve in the temple. You're serving in your house, but that's your temple. And you begin. You get new energy. Hashem gives you new energy. It's a new beginning. It's the morning. Who is most similar to the morning? Avraham. What did Avraham do? The world, the Torah says, was in darkness till Avraham came around. Everyone was into these pagan, crazy religions. The world was in darkness. No one believes in God. Everyone was serving these crazy idols. And Avraham comes around, and he begins to tell the world that there's God in the world. And he brings light to the world. He makes a revolution. In fact, the word Avraham, we call it, Torah is called Ivri. What does the Ivri mean? Ivri means he was on one side of the world. The one-sider, that's what Ivri means. He was on one side, everyone else on the other side. He was revolutionary. He's like the morning. He's someone who's brand new and he has something that's exhilarating and exciting and fresh. That's Avraham. Similarly, the Frierdiker Rebbe writes that the morning is a special time to serve God. It's a time when there is what's called in Kabbalah Isarusa de La'ela. There's a revelation from on high. There's a godly revelation in the morning, not just because it's beginning of the day. You're supposed to serve Hashem. You start your day, and besides the fact that it's a little quieter and you're just starting your day, but besides that, the beginning of the day has this divine revelation, divine assistance, divine mercy of Hashem. I don't know if you remember last week about Abraham. He went to ask Hashem for the city of stone the next morning, even though he'd already asked Hashem the night before, because morning is a time of revelation. Remember that? Remember that?
No, but I'm saying, that's so smart.
Okay. So the morning, the Alter Rebbe writes in the Maimer, he writes, morning is a time of joy. Morning is a time of simcha. It's a new light, it's a new entrance, it's a new beginning. That's Avraham. And we find that Avraham paid attention to the morning. The Torah says that Avraham woke up early in the morning to pray. Avraham woke up early in the morning to the Akedah, to bring his son as sacrifice to Hashem. He also woke up, the Torah says he woke up early. So that's Avraham. Avraham is the man of the morning. Then we have Yaakov. Yaakov instituted the evening prayer. No, I instituted the evening prayer, right? Because he had 12 children. I have to go to Ma'ariv. I'm sorry, put 12 kids to sleep. It's not so easy. I got a great idea. I was going to have Ma'ariv. No, seriously, the reason is Yaakov is connected to the time of evening. What's evening? Evening is a time of rest after a whole day, and you're able to focus, you're able to think about what you want to think about. It's quiet, there's solitude, there's reflection, there's romance, there's dreams. That's the evening. There are some people that love the morning. Some people, the morning is their favorite time. Some people wake up at night. Some people in our shul, they're at 10 a.m. they turn to pumpkins, and there's nobody home, and it's 10 o'clock and they're out. But there's some people that just start thinking at nighttime. So it's a little bit of an East Coast, West Coast thing. You know, you go to New York, 9 o'clock at night, it's like the night just begun. But in California, 9 o'clock is like 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't talk to anybody. He called me after 9 o'clock. Anyway, so the Frierdiker Rebbe writes that 9 o'clock. At nighttime is a time when the average person rests. Average person's working during the day, and at nighttime it's a time of rest. The Talmud says nighttime is created for study. Nighttime is a time you could focus and learn. Nighttime is a time when it's there's solitude, there's quiet. You're able to. The Talmud says if someone studies Torah at night, that causes protection in the house during the day. And who is the man of night? Yaakov is the man of night. It says in the Torah that Yaakov guarded the sheep of Lavan at night. He stayed up for 20 years. He didn't ignore the frost, he ignored the cold, he ignored the heat, and for 20 years he's up at night guarding the sheep of Lavan. He fights with an angel at night. He has that dream about the ladder at night. He dreams about the ladder, he has a dream. And so Yaakov is characterized by dreaming, by romance, by darkness, by turbulence. He's fighting with the angel at night. There's stuff going on. It's night. It's a time of mystery. It's a time of, yes, it's a time of quiet, but it's also a time of darkness. And Yaakov is the man of the night. Shachris and Arvis, evening and morning, are suitable to focus in prayer. In the morning, you wake up with hope and inspiration, hopefully, unless it's Monday, fine. And in the evening, you are relaxed. You could focus on. You could also pray. The rising of the sun, the setting of the sun, it indicates something otherworldly. It indicates something that's godly. It indicates something miraculous. Morning, night, the sun's rising, the sun's setting. It's something supernatural. It makes you, it empowers you. But the afternoon, middle of everything, afternoon is different. In the afternoon, you have some nunnik who's on the phone with you and trying to get the guy off the phone with you. There is, you go into your office, your boss is angry, your employees aren't paying attention, your kids aren't come from school yet, you haven't yet made supper, you were supposed to go to the bank before, you didn't go to the bank before, you came back, the carpool, you're supposed to be late for a carpool, and you're having a migraine headache, and I don't give anyone a headache by describing this, but that's what afternoons are like. You have your routine, you have to go back again, it's the same thing. So it's missing the energy of the morning, and it's missing the tranquility of evening. So what is the energy of that it allows us to get through the afternoon besides, let's say, another cup of coffee? What do you have in the afternoon that what is it the afternoon? What's the chayis? What's the neshama? What's the soul? What's the secret of the afternoon? What's the heartbeat of the afternoon? That's what Yitzchak is about. Yitzchak did not begin any religion. Yitzchak did not begin a new start. Yitzchak wasn't tricked by his uncle Lavan to try to marry the wrong person. Yitzchak didn't lose a child for many years. Yitzchak actually had a very tranquil life. He lived in the same place all of his life in Israel. He never left Israel. He had a very simple life. The only drama we find in his life is the story of the Akedah. And then the only other thing the Torah tells us about Yitzchak is that he dug wells. We don't find anything that's really exciting about his life. Just Yitzchak's life, it seems very boring. So that's what Mincha is about. Mincha is about, it's missing the excitement of a new day. It's in the night's drum. The afternoon's constancy is reminiscent of Yitzchak's life. It's a constant flow. So what the afternoon is missing in terms of grandeur and drama, it has in it the foundation of Yiddishkeit. Avram discovered a new light, but who made the vessels? Who built the vessels to internalize that light? That's Yitzchak. That's what the idea of digging the wells is. Digging the wells means to discover the living water that's already there. You dig a well, you're discovering the goodness that's already there. You're not bringing water from somewhere else. You're discovering what's already there inside. That's what Yitzchak is about. He's about revealing the goodness that's there already. It's not about a revolution, about a major change. It's not about PR. It's about discovering what's there. By the way, there's an amazing teaching about Yitzchak digging the wells. After Yitzchak dug the wells, it says the Philistines stuffed them up, right? The Philistines came and took earth and stuffed up the wells. The Hebrew word for stuffed up is sismum. Sismum carries the same root as the word stam. Are you stam? Are you plain or are you special? It's a good question, right? If you're plain, It doesn't matter, just plain. It doesn't matter if you learn, doesn't matter if you daven, doesn't matter if you're nice to your kids, doesn't matter if you're not nice to your kids, because you're just plain, you're just But if you feel that you're special, then it matters what you do in your life. So, although there may be someone in your life who's trying to discover the goodness in you, and Hashem is helping you, guiding you to discover the inner living waters, but it's the moment you say to yourself that you're just stam, you cause all the efforts of Abraham to and all the efforts of yourself to discover what's good inside, and you block it up. So it's a challenge to say this to yourself, because it sounds a little arrogant, but that's what helps you. It opens up your well. You have to say to yourself that you are special. You have a mission. You have a role in this world. Yitzchak is the one whose life was dedicated to discovering the inner living waters of a Jew. Yitzchak also discovers the inner living waters of the boring afternoon. Yitzchak discovers that the afternoon has something a lot deeper in it than the morning and the evening. In our day-to-day life, in our daily sacrifices, for the boring sacrifices that you make in your life and daily level for truth, for what's right, for what's good, in those daily little things, you have something you create a deeper bond with Hashem than you can on those more romantic and special times like the morning and the evening. It says in the Gemara, a person should always be careful when to pray mincha. Elijah, Eliyahu, Navi was only answered in mincha. What's so good about mincha? The previous Rebbe says that we don't find a similar connection between anyone to anything like we find in mincha. Person's in the middle of their day, and suddenly they stop everything, and it's time for mincha. That kind of bond that a Jew has, that because of that they go and they stop and they daven mincha, there's no parallel. There's no similar thing that exists. It's an expression of the deepest part of the neshama. It's an expression of yichida. And God pays attention to that prayer. A person stops everything and trying to bridge two worlds. They're in the middle of X, Y, and Z, and now they're going to daven to God. The Eibusher pays attention to that. That causes a different kind of a bond between a Jew and Hashem pays attention to that prayer, and Hashem listens to that prayer. That's the power of Yitzchak. The power of Yitzchak is in that soft voice of dedication that doesn't change, of trustworthiness, of faithfulness. That's in the morning. There's a reason to thank God. You just got your soul back. At night, there's a reason to pray to God. You're going to sleep. You're giving your soul back to God. Why do you pray in the middle of the day? There's no reason. There's nothing happen in the middle of the day. Nothing to thank Hashem especially for, and there's nothing that's momentous. That's why mincha is called a gift. It's just a gift to God. You want to connect to Hashem out of nowhere. Hashem says, "Now's the time to talk to me," and you want to talk to Hashem. It's a gift to Hashem. So, in a similar way, in marriage, there are different stages in marriage. You meet somebody. You haven't met someone, and you just meet someone, and it seems right. So when you meet that person, what happens? Avraham, excitement. There's something, wow, there's brand new in you, something brand new, and it's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's fresh. Wow, it's so exciting. That's Avraham. There's also an evening element to marriage as well. The evening element to marriage is when you discover the untold layers of the personality of your spouse, the depth of the other person's personality, what's there, which we didn't know before, and there's something that night brings to relationship, which means what you're trying to discover as you get to know the other person throughout life. And there's discovery, and there's excitement, and there's passion. That's the evening part of a relationship. But there's also the afternoon. The afternoon, the hard-earned love in a marriage is born of the daily and boring commitments. Commitment is such a boring word. Inspired is a much greater word, but that's what it is. That's what creates a deeper relationship. It's no fanfare. It's just an internal loyalty. I'm thinking about Schwartzy and those soldiers. Like, he just looks at those guys. He sees in them, these guys are just the best guys. And he goes to them and he goes, every day I have to buy these guys lunch. I'm visiting from America. I have to buy it. It's not that they're breaking down walls from every day and he's getting it's right. These guys are the best, and because they're the best, I want to give to them. This is in the beginning of marriage. There is something unique, there's something special, and people may call it lust, and lust is not always a bad thing. There's a time for that too. But there's something that's brought and created to a marriage by the daily devotion to your spouse. And that's specifically after getting married. That's what Yitzchak is about. There's an incredible story about Shimon Yochai. Shimon Yochai was once visited by this guy who asked him if he should get divorced. Why did he want to get divorced? Because he was married to his wife for 10 years. And the Talmud says after 10 years, if you don't have children, you should get divorced. Now, this is not the halacha nowadays, but this is a story in the Talmud. So the Rashbi says you should get divorced. But just like you guys got married with a party, get divorced with a party. Make a party for the divorce. Make a massive party. Make a celebration. You had a wedding. So make a massive wedding for your divorce. Jewish idea, right? Whatever. So they make this big party, and he gets a little drunk, and he tells his wife, "You're going home. I want you to take whatever you want from my household and bring it to your father's house." Okay. He falls asleep. She tells her servants, "Quickly take him and bring it to my father's house." They bring him to her father's house. He wakes up in the middle of the night. Like, "Where am I?" "You're in my father's house." "So what am I doing in your father's house?" "Well, you said I could take anything from your house and bring it to my father's house, so I took you." And they went back to Shimon Yochai. Shimon Yochai blessed them with a child, and they Baruch Hashem, they had a child. There is something that's created by those boring little things that you do for your spouse, and it's something that is not in the initial excitement of meeting the other person. That kind of relationship, that kind of love, the longer you're married, the less there is. But in the day-to-day task you do for each other, and the giving to each other, and the caring and giving on a day-to-day basis, the longer you're married, the deeper the relationship is. It's like that well that's dug deep into the ground. So that's why the Torah presents us with marriage. Yes, Am and Sarah loved each other, but that's not important for us to know. The Torah only tells us about the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, because that's the fundamental kind of love that's needed in marriage. There's something godly in a marriage, something supernatural and godly in a marriage. In a marriage, there are 3 rings. You know what the 3 rings in marriage? You only got 1. You wonder why? How come you give me 2 more? Well, he owes me 2, right? But the first thing is that the kala walks around the chassan. That's 1 ring. That's 1 circle, or she walks around 7 times. Then there is the ring that the chassan gives the kala. It's another ring. Then there is also in Kabbalah, a circle is considered something encompassing is called a ring. The chuppah, the canopy that's above the chassan kala, is also a ring. These rings represent something that is super rational. The kala devotes herself to this relationship super beyond logic. She's dedicating herself. Yes, she met. Yes, she felt the virtues of the other person. That's why she made this decision. But overall, getting married means jumping. And that's the decision she made. And she's giving herself over, and she's devoting herself to build this home together with her husband, going beyond logic and reason. That's her circling the chassan. The chassan also gives the ring that represents his devotion. But in order for this whole thing to work, this whole thing is really a godly thing. Why is it godly? A child is born. A child can have another child. The child can have another child until forever. It's something infinite that happens in a marriage. So to connect a husband and wife, it needs to be a godly, infinite energy that makes that happen. Because something godly is happening in marriage. There's a brand new birth of a child that goes on and on forever. And therefore there has to be this chuppah, this canopy that represents God's infinite power that brings the two together. And in their convergence, and their letting go of their different differences and becoming one, they connect to that infinite thing. Infinite light of Hashem. So the bottom line is that our culture knows about the relationship of Shachris, the morning discovery kind of love. Our culture also knows about the evening mysterious kind of love. But the Torah tells us that we need to pay attention to the secret of mincha, the secret of the day-to-day things we do for each other that really foster and create that deeper relationship that goes on. And that's, I think, something that chassidus highlights. And as Rabbi Rashab said, he davens, he wants that Hashem should be revealed in this world. I think that one of the profound teachings of Rabbi Rashab about what Yitzchak means, what Mincha means, gives us a lot of insight into and illuminates what a marriage is can be and how it should be. L'chaim, l'chaim.